Friends, we can all see that many white bloggers have millions of followers. Please support me too, because my followers are still few. Black bloggers also deserve to be famous. My friends, let's unite and lift each other up. Please press subscribe button and like. In the heart of a small Ohio town, the courtroom buzzed with tension. The air was thick with anticipation as Evelyn Dawson, a 15-year-old girl with dark circles under her eyes, sat in the defendant's chair. She wore a dark hoodie, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped the edge of the table. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting a harsh glow on the proceedings. Noah Carter, a seasoned police officer, stood at the front, his demeanor exuding arrogance. He had pushed an elderly man, Leonard Mason, to the ground, and Evelyn had captured the incident on her phone. Now, she was being accused of fabricating a story to tarnish the reputation of law enforcement. The prosecutor, a man with a cold, calculating gaze, presented his case with a disdainful tone. Painting Evelyn as a troublemaker, Evelyn's heart raced as she listened to the prosecutor's words. She felt invisible, as if her truth was being drowned out by the noise of prejudice and indifference. She glanced at her lawyer, Marcus Reed, who sat beside her, his expression unreadable. He had been assigned to her case just days before, and she felt no confidence in his ability to defend her as the trial progressed. Evelyn's mind drifted back to her mother, Miriam Dawson, a woman who had once stood up against injustice, but had been silenced by the very system meant to protect her. Miriam had been a librarian, a quiet woman who had fought for the truth in her own way. Evelyn remembered the day her mother had been accused of theft, dragged out of the store in front of a crowd. The shame and fear in her mother's eyes had haunted Evelyn ever since. The courtroom fell silent as the prosecutor called Noah Carter to the stand. He spoke of his years of service, portraying himself as a hero. But Evelyn knew the truth. She remembered the way he had shoved Leonard, the fear in the old man's eyes as he fell. She had recorded it all, and now it felt like her only weapon against the tide of lies. "I still have a copy," Evelyn finally spoke up, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. The courtroom erupted in whispers, and the prosecutor's expression shifted from confidence to irritation. He dismissed her claim, but Evelyn felt a flicker of hope. She had not come this far to be silenced again as the trial continued. The tension escalated. Marcus, sensing the weight of the moment, stood up to defend Evelyn. He argued passionately, but the judge's indifference was palpable. The system was rigged, and Evelyn felt the weight of that truth pressing down on her. Days turned into weeks, and the trial dragged on. Evelyn's resolve began to waver, but she found strength in the memories of her mother. She remembered the lessons Miriam had taught her about standing up for what was right, even when it felt impossible. One evening, as she sat in her temporary apartment, Evelyn received a visit from Sophia Pierce, a high-ranking CIA agent who had been following the case closely. Sophia had seen the video and understood the implications. She offered her support, promising to help Evelyn find justice. With Sophia's guidance, Evelyn began to gather evidence. They uncovered a web of corruption within the police department, revealing that Noah Carter had a history of misconduct. The more they dug, the more they realized that Evelyn's case was just the tip of the iceberg. As the trial resumed, the atmosphere shifted. The courtroom was packed with supporters, and the media had caught wind of the story. Evelyn felt a surge of determination as she took the stand once more. This time, she spoke not just for herself, but for all those who had been silenced. "I recorded the truth," she declared, her voice ringing clear, "and I will not let it be buried again." The judge listened intently, and for the first time, Evelyn felt seen. The tide began to turn as new evidence emerged, and the prosecutor struggled to maintain control. The courtroom buzzed with energy, and Evelyn's heart raced with hope. In the days that followed, the truth began to unravel. Noah Carter was arrested, and the charges against Evelyn were dropped. The community rallied around her, and the story of her bravery spread like wildfire. Evelyn stood outside the courthouse, the sun shining down on her. She felt a weight lift from her shoulders as she realized that she had not only fought for herself, but for others who had been wronged. She had become a symbol of resilience, a silent flame that refused to be extinguished. But just as she thought she could finally breathe, a shadow loomed over her. A figure emerged from the crowd, a familiar face that sent a chill down her spine. It was Noah Carter, his expression twisted with rage. "You think this is over?" he spat, his voice low and threatening. "You have no idea what you started." Evelyn's heart raced as she felt the weight of his words. She had fought hard, but the battle was far from finished. The system that had tried to silence her was still out there, lurking in the shadows, ready to strike back. As the crowd began to disperse, Evelyn stood tall, her resolve unshaken. She would continue to speak the truth, no matter the cost. The fight for justice was just beginning, and she was determined to see it through to the end. Days turned into weeks, and the media frenzy surrounding the case only intensified. Evelyn found herself thrust into the spotlight, her story becoming a rallying cry for those who had faced similar injustices. She received messages of support from all corners of the country, and for the first time, she felt a sense of community. But with the attention came new challenges. Threatening messages began to appear, warning her to back down. Evelyn felt the weight of fear creeping in, but she refused to let it consume her. With Sophia by her side, she continued to gather evidence, determined to expose the corruption that had plagued her town. One evening, as they sifted through documents in Sophia's office, they stumbled upon a hidden file that detailed a series of cover-ups involving Noah Carter and other officers. The evidence was damning, and Evelyn's heart raced as she realized they had finally found the key to bringing the truth to light. "This is it," Sophia said, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We can take this to the federal level. We can make them listen." Evelyn nodded, her resolve strengthening. They worked late into the night, preparing their case for the authorities. As dawn broke, they felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were no longer just fighting for Evelyn. They were fighting for justice itself. The day of the federal hearing arrived, and the courtroom was packed. Evelyn stood at the front, flanked by Sophia and Marcus. The atmosphere was electric, and she could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. This was her chance to finally be heard. As she took the stand, Evelyn felt a surge of confidence. She recounted her story, detailing the events that had led to her recording of the incident. The room was silent as she spoke, her voice steady and unwavering. She could see the faces of those who had doubted her, and she felt a sense of empowerment wash over her. But just as she reached the climax of her testimony, a commotion erupted at the back of the courtroom. A group of officers, including Noah Carter, burst in, their expressions filled with anger. "This is a sham," Carter shouted, his voice echoing through the room. "You can't believe her lies." Evelyn's heart raced as she faced him. The tension in the room was palpable, and she could feel the eyes of everyone on her. This was the moment she had been preparing for, and she refused to back down. "I recorded the truth," she said, her voice ringing clear, "and I will not let it be buried again." The judge banged his gavel, calling for order, but the chaos continued. Evelyn's heart pounded in her chest as she realized that the fight was far from over. The system that had tried to silence her was still fighting back, and she would need to summon every ounce of strength to see this through. As the courtroom erupted into chaos, Evelyn stood firm, her gaze locked on Noah Carter. She knew that this was just the beginning of a much larger battle, one that would require courage, resilience, and the unwavering belief that the truth would ultimately prevail. And in that moment, she felt the flame within her ignite, ready to burn brighter than ever before. Do you want to know the fate of the heroes? Please post part 2. Subscribe to the channel and continue watching. Your opinion and support are important to me. Leave it in the comments. Thank you.